Hello, folks. Welcome back to the channel. Today is a super special day, and it's all thanks to you. Guess what? We just hit 100 subscribers. Can you believe it? I mean, sure, 100 might not sound like a massive number to some, but to me, it's absolutely incredible. This milestone wouldn't have been possible without your amazing support, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's content. It's going to be awesome. The screen's pale glow cast ghastly shadows across my study as I scrolled through the endless depths of the dark web. 3 weeks had passed since Sarah's disappearance, and the police had already given up. But I hadn't. I couldn't. The thought that kept me awake at night, that drove me to explore these forbidden corners of the internet, was simple: Sarah knew too much. As a cybersecurity analyst at Morton & Pierce, she had discovered something that made her voice tremble during our last phone call. "I can't tell you over the phone," she had whispered. "But James, what I found, it changes everything." We were supposed to meet at the coffee shop near her apartment the next morning. She never showed up. That's when I started diving into the dark web, following trails of breadcrumbs through encrypted channels and hidden forums. I learned more than I ever wanted to know about the digital black market, how anything and anyone could be bought for the right price. Tonight was different. As I scrolled through an auction site, my blood turned to ice. There, among listings for stolen data and illicit goods, was a photograph. The subject's face was obscured by a black bar, but I recognized the delicate silver necklace with its distinctive pendant, a gift I had given Sarah for her 30th birthday. The listing was clinical, grotesque in its simplicity: information broker. Guaranteed knowledge of high-value corporate secrets. Bidding starts at 50 BTC. My hands trembled as I clicked through to the seller's profile. They called themselves The Collector, with a perfect rating from previous transactions. Each review spoke of merchandise as described and delivery as promised. I felt bile rise in my throat. They were selling people, selling Sarah, like pieces of furniture. The auction had 48 hours remaining, and already there were 3 bids. Using everything Sarah had taught me about cryptocurrency and anonymous browsing, I prepared to place a bid. But as I hovered over the button, a message popped up in the corner of my screen. "Careful, James. You're looking in the wrong places." The message was from Sarah. My screen went black, then flickered back to life. The auction listing had vanished, replaced by lines of code streaming across my monitor. Hidden within them was another message. "They wanted you to find me. Get out. Now." A pounding at my front door made me jump. Through my window, I could see black SUVs lining my quiet street, their engines idling in the darkness. Sarah had discovered something bigger than corporate secrets. And now, so had I. The pounding grew louder. I had about 30 seconds to decide, run, or discover just how deep this rabbit hole went. The door began to splinter. The flickering fluorescent light of the Silk Road Forum cast long, skeletal shadows across my face. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat echoing the pounding in my skull. It had been years. Years since I'd last seen Elias, my childhood friend, vanished without a trace. No goodbye, no note, just gone. The police had called it a runaway, but I knew better. Something sinister had taken him. Now, here he was. Not in person, of course. Not yet. But his name, stark and chilling, stared back at me from the screen. Elias Thorne, lot number 37. Human male, 25. Estimated value, high. Below, a grainy image flickered to life. It was him, undeniably him. The same haunted eyes, the same crooked smile that always seemed to hold a hint of sadness. Only now, the smile was gone, replaced by a hollow, vacant stare. A wave of nausea washed over me. I scrolled down, my eyes skimming over the chilling details: healthy, obedient. Responds well to basic commands. No known addictions. Minor scarring on left forearm. The language was clinical, detached, as if describing a piece of livestock. But beneath the veneer of professionalism, a cold, predatory hunger pulsed. The auction was scheduled for the following week. I couldn't afford to wait. Panic clawed at my throat. I had to get him back. But how? The Silk Road was a labyrinth of anonymity, a digital ghost town where identities were fluid and trust was a fleeting illusion. Days blurred into a haze of paranoia and desperate research. I delved into the murky depths of the dark web, learning its arcane language, its intricate web of connections. I discovered the shadowy figures who operated behind the veil of anonymity, the ruthless enforcers who policed the digital underworld. I learned that interfering with an auction like this was a grave mistake, a transgression that could have dire consequences. But the thought of Elias, caged and broken, fueled my resolve. I had to find a way. I reached out to a shadowy figure known only as the Serpent, a notorious hacker with a reputation for both brilliance and ruthlessness. The Serpent listened to my tale, his voice a chilling whisper in the digital ether. "This is a dangerous game you're playing," he warned, his words laced with a chilling amusement. "But interesting. For the right price, perhaps I can help you." And so began a terrifying dance of deceit and subterfuge. I became a ghost in the machine, a phantom lurking in the shadows of the dark web. I learned to manipulate code, to exploit vulnerabilities, to vanish without a trace. I became a player in this deadly game, a pawn in a high-stakes chess match against forces I barely understood. The day of the auction arrived, a day that felt both agonizingly slow and terrifyingly fast. I sat before my computer, my fingers hovering over the keyboard, my heart pounding like a war drum. The auction began, the bids escalating with chilling rapidity. I watched, helpless, as the price soared, each bid a hammer blow to my already shattered soul. Then, at the last moment, I struck. The Serpent, true to his word, had infiltrated the system, wreaking havoc on the auction. The platform crashed, the bids frozen. Chaos erupted. The bidders, enraged and confused, vanished into the digital ether. But Elias was gone. The Serpent, his task complete, vanished as quickly as he had appeared. I was left alone, adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Had I saved him? Or had I simply made things worse? The answer, I knew, lay somewhere in the shadows, a chilling secret waiting to be unearthed. And I, forever changed by this ordeal, was destined to find it. The fluorescent light flickered, casting long, skeletal shadows across my face. A chilling premonition washed over me. This was not the end. It was merely the beginning. Note, this story attempts to capture the essence of Poe's style by focus on atmosphere. The use of words like flickering, skeletal shadows, and chilling creates a sense of dread and unease. Emphasis on the macabre. The story deals with themes of abduction, exploitation, and the dark underbelly of the internet, all elements that would have resonated with Poe. Unreliable narrator. The narrator is deeply affected by the events, leading to potential biases and unreliable perceptions. Focus on psychological torment. The story explores the psychological impact of the events on the narrator, including fear, paranoia, and a growing obsession. I hope this story captures the spirit of Edgar Allan Poe while maintaining a modern sensibility. The night had fallen heavy, cloaking the world in shadows as I sat in my dimly lit apartment. The only illumination came from the ghostly blue glow of my computer screen. My hands trembled as I navigated through the labyrinthine depths of the internet, a world where rules and morality held no sway. I had no choice but to tread this dark path. My best friend, Alex, had vanished 2 months ago, and every lead had led me to this shadowy realm. Alex had always been a beacon of light, a soul unyielding to despair. His disappearance struck a chord of fear and despair within me that I could not silence. The police investigation had turned up nothing but dead ends, leaving me to take matters into my own hands. That was how I found myself delving into the dark web, a place whispered about in hushed tones, where secrets thrived and nightmares were born. After weeks of searching, I stumbled upon an auction site, its purpose cloaked in sinister ambiguity. The header read, "Unique and exclusive offerings." The items listed were grotesque, unthinkable: a pair of worn ballet slippers from a tragic dancer, a lock of hair said to belong to a long-dead queen. But it wasn't the macabre artifacts that froze my blood, it was the last listing on the page, lot number 27, exclusive, live auction. I clicked the link, my heart pounding. The page that opened revealed a live stream. A masked figure, shrouded in black, stood before a small stage. The camera panned to reveal several people, bound and gagged, sitting in a row of chairs. My breath caught as the camera lingered on one face, Alex. His eyes were wide with terror, his face gaunt, but it was him. My best friend was being auctioned off like some grotesque commodity. The chat window beside the stream buzzed with activity. Bids flooded in, numbers climbing higher and higher. My mind raced. I couldn't let this happen. But how could I intervene? I wasn't wealthy, and the bidding had already reached tens of thousands of dollars. I felt helpless, a spectator to a horrifying spectacle. Desperation clawed at me. I typed frantically in the chat, "Stop this. I'll pay anything. Just let him go." The masked figure turned to the camera, as though reading my message. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air. Then, the figure typed back, "Prove your worth." My thoughts churned. Prove my worth? What did they mean? The figure gestured, and a new window popped up, a list of tasks, each more depraved than the last. My stomach churned as I read through them. The tasks demanded not just money but moral degradation, acts that would tarnish my soul. But Alex's life was at stake. Could I do it? Could I sacrifice my integrity, my humanity, to save him? The clock ticked down. The auction was nearing its end. I chose the least vile task on the list, hacking into a local business and siphoning funds. My hands shook as I executed the commands, bypassing firewalls and security systems. I hated myself for what I was doing, but I couldn't let Alex die. Task completed, I typed into the chat. The masked figure nodded, and the bidding was halted. My screen went dark for a moment before a new message appeared, "Come to the following address. Bring no one." The address was in an industrial area, a place where silence and shadows ruled. I arrived, my heart pounding in my chest. The building was a decrepit warehouse, its windows shattered, its doors hanging loose on rusted hinges. I stepped inside, the darkness swallowing me whole. "You came," a voice rasped. The masked figure emerged from the shadows, dragging Alex behind them. He was still bound, his face pale and tear-streaked. "You paid the price. Take him and go." I rushed forward, untying Alex with trembling hands. He clung to me, his body shaking. "I thought I'd never see you again," he whispered, his voice hoarse. We fled the warehouse, not daring to look back. As we drove away, Alex began to tell me what had happened, how he had been abducted, how he had been sold from one nightmare to another. His voice broke as he recounted the horrors he had endured, but he was alive, and that was all that mattered. Yet, even as relief washed over me, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had made a deal with the devil. The dark web had claimed a piece of my soul, and though Alex was safe, I knew I would never be the same. The shadows of that night would haunt me forever, a chilling reminder of the price I had paid to bring my friend back from the brink of oblivion.